on page 41. And this is really good because Abraham's talking about a 30-minute energy alignment process. And I don't know if you guys had the chance to read through it before, but basically it is a process for going to bed. It's bedtime pre-paving. And so Abraham says, if you can get a running start on a day of aligned energy as you put yourself to bed the night before. So a lot of what happens here today in this day depends on what was going on yesterday. And so when we put ourselves to bed, the thing to do is to shut down everything from that day, everything from the past. Close everything and leave it behind, so that when you sleep, your body can actually rejuvenate and you can wake up the next day feeling fresh. I started pre-paving, nighttime pre-paving, long ago. Like it's been so many years. Like when my son was tiny, I used to do it out aloud with him, and I still do it, but I don't do it out aloud anymore. I don't have to because he's not with me. But my intention in doing it out aloud used to be that I wanted him to learn, and so what it does is that you have to give your mind an instruction to shut down. You've got to give your mind an instruction to shut down. If you don't give your mind an instruction to shut down, it will continue running. And that's why the pre-paving, bedtime pre-paving is so important. So Abraham says, find things in your immediate vicinity. When you are going to sleep, this is a ritual or a practice or a process, whatever word you want to use for it, so that we can, when we sleep, we put ourselves in a place where our mind is no longer active. That is the intention. That is what we want to accomplish. So how we do that is to relax. And I don't know about you guys, but I think that my body and my mind already know that I want to go to sleep when I change my clothes and I go to the bathroom and I get myself ready for going to bed. So it's about creating a habit that you do on a regular basis. And then what happens is, once your body is used to it, once your mind is trained into that habit, it will happen automatically. So as Abraham is saying here on page 41, find things in your immediate vicinity, such as your bed linens, and your pillow, to direct your appreciation towards. So why are we doing that? Appreciation, because appreciation feels good. And appreciation is, we know that it's at the basis of all law of attraction, right? Appreciation is the thing that helps us to get all the results that we want in law of attraction. Okay, so now my technology seems to be catching up, which is fantastic. All right. And so simple things like appreciating the pillow that your head is on, and just stretching out and feeling your bed sheet or your comforter, just appreciating how it feels to be in your bed. It's relaxing. And one of the things that I find that if you do it, you will really relax your whole body, is as you lay in bed, stretch. Stretch your toes out, stretch your arms out, because the process of stretching and letting go relaxes your muscles. And so if you did that, you would put your body would get used to that feeling of, okay, it's time to go to bed. And then Abraham says, set your intention to sleep well and to awaken refreshed. And this is really important. Now, in this book, they're not talking about the actual intention. So what do you say to yourself? So I am going to read to you the intention from the Unlimited workbook, which I think everyone almost here has. Everybody has the Unlimited workbook. So in the Unlimited workbook, the nighttime pre-paving intention is to actually tell your mind, tell yourself, I am going to bed now. I want to sleep well. I want my body to relax and rejuvenate. So these are instructions, believe it or not, you're saying the words, but these are instructions that you're giving yourself. I want to reset myself emotionally and physically, mentally and physically. I want a reset. So when I wake up, I want to be completely reset. It's like resetting any electronic gadget these days. You have a reset button, you go back to factory settings. Right? So you got to put yourself back to factory settings as much as you can. I want to wake up feeling energized and eager for my day. Energized and eager for my day. So basically, that is the nighttime intention. You've got to tell your mind and your body what you want them to do during the sleep segment of time. And the more you do it, the more you get used to doing it. So I used to be an insomniac, right? Like I would not be able to sleep. And I would actually, it was so bad that I lay down and I would just get up and go start doing something again around the house because I just could not fall asleep. Now that is more than 20 years ago that I used to be that way. When I started using pre-paving, I just trusted that it's going to work because Abraham says it will work. And my sleep patterns changed within 6 months. And now it is so that when I put my head down, I do my pre-paving, I put my head down and I laugh about it because when I put my head down, you don't have enough time to say good night to me because I'm already asleep. Right? So, but that's like a lot of practice. But I have been this way now for more than 5 or 6 or 7 years. Like I can't remember how long it is since. It's funny. I drove down to New York, Rochester, with a friend to attend an Abraham-Hicks workshop, and so she was surprised because we were sharing a hotel room. She was surprised that she could not have a conversation with me at night. You know, like she could not talk to me. I was already asleep. So this stuff works, but you've got to give it time. You've got to, first of all, believe in it. Secondly, you've got to be consistent in doing it. You've got to be consistent in doing it, and you got to give it time. If you do these 3 things, there is no way that it will not work. It will absolutely work. Okay? So if you shut down everything that happened yesterday and you start tomorrow as a completely brand new day, then yesterday's vibration is not going to affect your vibration today. And that's important. See, when you don't shut down your mind when you go to sleep, your vibration from the previous day is now having an impact on this day. But it's like closing everything and saying, that's it, I'm done with the day, and going home. When you're at work and you close everything out, I know these days a lot of people don't behave that way, and I can tell you that that's not a good thing. You've got to have the ability. So in my professional life, I used to be someone that if I left work and I was still thinking about work all day, first I was at work, and then I would bring the work home because it was in my head, and my head came home with me. So, but I, over the last 8 to 10 years, I trained myself that when I put the lid down on my laptop, I'm not going to think about work. It's done, it's over. I am not going to think about it, and I'm not going to carry the vibration of it with me. I can tell you that it is the healthiest thing that I've ever done for myself. And so I don't take any personal stuff that I'm thinking about either. I don't take it to bed with me. It doesn't go to sleep with me, because if I bring it to sleep with me, then my head's working on it all night, and I'm not really getting a full night's refreshing sleep. And you'll know an indication of that is going to be that soon as you open your eyes, or you half open your eyes in the morning, that thought from yesterday immediately pops in. Why? Because you never let it go. You never turned the switch off on it.
Wow.
And if that is happening to you, then this process is really, really important, and it is actually going to change your life. You've got to pre-pave, you've got to have the intention to go to bed and have a really good night's sleep. It is tremendously important, because when you sleep is when your head, your logical mind, has to get out of the way so that your battery can recharge, so that you get plugged into source and you can actually recharge yourself. Because if your mind is still active during sleep, you're not fully plugged in. It's like, you know how we do sometimes, okay, most of you will understand this analogy. You know how when your cell phone's getting really old and the charging port is a little bit loose, and you stick the cord in, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work, and you jiggle it around to get it, like, if I can just move it just a little bit, it's going to be in the right place, and then my phone is going to get charged. That's why I bought one of these beauties. Now I just put my phone on top of it to charge. But the thing is, that's what happens to us if we go to sleep without doing the cleanup before bedtime. What happens is that we connect. Hi, Tamika. So you switch from Zoom to Facebook. Good to see you. And Rochelle, I see you as well. Good to see you guys. So you see, the thing is, if you don't clear your mind, if you don't clear that channel with source, then it's like that connection that is jiggly, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. You wake up in the morning and sometimes you feel energized, and other times you're like, I don't think I got any sleep last night. You know those times, right? When you say, I don't think I got any sleep last night. Well, that's because you're not really getting your mind out of the way. If you do not get your mind out of the way when you go to bed, you might as well not sleep. And so this process, and Abraham says you will see an effect in 30 days. I say you'll see an effect in 10 days if you actually do it, right? So relax, turn this thing off. How do you turn this thing off? By directing your attention to something that you can appreciate. Take appreciation to bed. Don't take problems to bed. If you take problems to bed, then even if you do the pre-paving, I'll tell you a funny story. I have this beautiful girl. Most of you know her, Nancy. Beautiful girl. What I love about her is that she always shares and asks questions. So Nancy came to me one day. She was in a program, self-worth program that I teach called Unlimited Heart. And she comes into our group coaching session and she says, this, I don't sleep well. And I said to Nancy, I said, okay, tell me, what do you do? Do you pre-pave going to bed? She said, yes, I pre-pave going to bed. I said, okay, walk me through what you do before you go to bed. What's happening in the 1 hour before or half an hour before you go to sleep? So she tells me, I do this, I do this, I do this, and then I do my pre-paving, and then I do this, and I do this, and I do this, and then I go lay down. And I said to her, two things. I caught her on two things, and those two things were, sweetheart, the pre-paving has to be the last thing you do before you put your head on your pillow. There should be no thought, because you're giving your mind an instruction to shut down. And then if you start thinking again about something, then your mind is going to say, oh, that instruction was redundant because now you want me to work on this thing that you're thinking about. So the pre-paving is not effective. The pre-paving has to be the very last thing that you do. And the second thing I caught her on was that she was taking her cell phone to bed. So I asked her, how do you fall asleep? She says, oh, I just keep watching stuff on TikTok or YouTube and then I fall asleep. Well, then you're not really shutting it down, are you? You're not shutting down your mind. How are you going to fall asleep? And so I said to her, listen, the pre-paving has to be the very last thing that you do. And if you are going to go to YouTube, please make it to listen to a meditation that will bring you into sleep. Meditation music. Not TikTok. Definitely not TikTok. Right? So the thing is, once you give your mind an instruction, it will listen provided you don't change the instruction. So then she did it, and 6 months later, now she sleeps well. So it's like there are steps involved that you have to do them properly in order to get the results that you wanted to get. So anyway, Abraham says, sit for 15 minutes and quiet your mind. Feel whatever resistance you may have fall away and feel your vibration rise. Then open your eyes and sit for 5 or 10 minutes writing a list of things you appreciate about your life. Now this is in the morning. This is not at night. So at night, you appreciate, you give your mind an instruction to shut down and you sleep. When you find yourself awake in the morning, then lie in bed and appreciate again. Practice appreciation even before you get out of bed. Now, having said that, in the book Money and the Law of Attraction, we've done a book study of that book, and if you're interested in that, it's on my YouTube channel. But in the book Money and the Law of Attraction, that is where I came across these practices the first time. Abraham in that book goes deeper and explains what instruction to give yourself when you wake up and when you go to sleep. And certainly I love that book, and I recommend it to anyone who wants to go deeper into Abraham's teachings. And what I did was, after I learned the concept, I developed the pre-paving that is in the Unlimited 40-Day Workbook. So what I'm going to do just now is, for those people who don't have the workbook, I'm just going to read out the morning pre-paving. And I will tell you that I do this pre-paving several times, because I'm in and out of, like one eye open, and so I do it many times. So here's how it goes. Dear God or universe, whatever you prefer, thank you for a brand new opportunity to enjoy life. I want my day to unfold with ease. I want good things to come my way. I want to remember to appreciate people, places, and things. I want to be good to myself and others. I want to end this day feeling happy and satisfied, and I want to remember at all times that all things are possible. What are you doing? You are giving your mind an instruction that these are the activities I want to prioritize during my day. I want to appreciate people, places, and things. I want to be good to myself and others. And I want to remember that all things are possible. These are instructions. So guess what happens if you did this well, the workbook is a 40-day workbook, but Abraham says 30 days. And I know that even 30 days is too much. I know that if you do the work with consistency and intention for just 10 days, you'll start feeling a shift already. And so if you do the pre-paving and then you incorporate what Abraham is telling us to do over here, lie in appreciation, quiet your mind, and then open your eyes, you're going to lay the foundation for a very good day. And here's when not to do this process, because there's a time when you don't need to do this. And that is the time when you open your eyes and you're so excited because you're going on a cruise that you don't need to do this. You just jump out of bed and you go. And that is totally okay. All right? So there are times you do this, and there are times when your energy is moving so fast, you don't need to do it. Okay? All right, let's keep going. So Abraham says, this is third paragraph, rather than doing things and going places to try to make yourself feel good, deliberately get to feeling good and let those things and people and places come to you. I remember listening to Abraham, and they pointed out in this one segment a little bit of a difference in how Esther was thinking. So this was Esther going to the beach. And the thought was, and I don't remember the exact words or whatever, but the gist of it was, if Esther wasn't feeling a 10 on the emotional scale, she could go to the beach in order to feel better. Going to the beach will help her to feel better. Or she could do some appreciation, meditation, go up the emotional scale, and then go to the beach. And then she would feel like she was $1 million. She would feel like on top of the world. So in everything that we can appreciate, there is the opportunity to use it as an excuse to go up the emotional scale, or go up the emotional scale and then milk it. In everything, there's that. Music is definitely like that. If you're already happy, you put on some really fast moving music and you can't keep your feet on the ground, right? Or you're not feeling that good and you put on music in order to feel good. Doesn't matter. Either way, you're going up the emotional scale. Awesome. Find any excuse, as Abraham says, to go up the emotional scale. All right. So then Abraham says, it is possible that once you come into alignment with who you really are, you will gravitate to a different relationship. But it is also likely that the relationship that you are already in was attracted from your point of being in alignment to begin with, and now that you have achieved alignment again, it will renew itself for you. So this is in continuation of what we were talking about, where Jerry asked Abraham the question, should one stay in a relationship that is not working or leave? So Abraham says, if you do the emotional work first, then two things can happen. One, that this relationship that you are in will morph and become better, or you'll find another one. Either way, nothing is going wrong. The minute you start thinking that something is going wrong, then something is going wrong. Right? Because it's law of attraction. So, very important, the words they're saying here. If you entered your current relationship from a place of mostly alignment, its potential for returning to a wonderful feeling place is great. If you entered this relationship because you were in the process of escaping from something unpleasant, then the basis of this relationship may be more about what you do not want than about what you do want. And this is where people, go into relationships right away. What's it called? There's a term for it. I forget. Rebound, right? So they go into a new relationship because they think this current one is not working, and then the new one is just like the old one because nothing changed in between. So like I say, that even if you do leave because you just can't stand it where you are, before you engage in another relationship, clean up your vibration. You don't want to go into a new relationship with the same vibration. And it very much applies the same way to clients. Whether you work for someone or you have a business of your own, if you have an unpleasant something happen with a client, don't take that vibration into your discussion with your next client. Clean it up. Don't allow the power of influence to color your next experience. Don't allow the past to color your future. Leave it in the past. Whatever happened with one client does not have to happen with another client. Whatever happens in one relationship does not have to happen in another relationship. This is really, really important to understand and practice. Practice it. Pre-pave every interaction, and then you can't go wrong. If you pre-pave every interaction with everyone, whether they are a client or not, then you can't go wrong, right? Okay. So Abraham says, in any case, getting yourself feeling good before you take any action is always the best process. Always the best thing is do the pre-paving. And here's what I find. One of the things that makes it difficult is that people don't really know where they are on the emotional scale. That's the real issue. Because all of us who follow Abraham, we understand the importance of the emotional scale. But most of us don't really know where we are on that scale, because if you think that you're high on the emotional scale, but bad things are still happening, that means you're not high on the emotional scale. And you don't know what it feels like to be high on the emotional scale. So that's where I teach benchmarking. You've got to benchmark your emotions. Meaning, when you say, oh, I'm feeling really good. All right, feeling really good. I must be at the top of the emotional scale. What does that feel like? What does it feel like to be at the top of the emotional scale? A lot of times, and I think I might have mentioned this before, when I'm coaching someone and they say, well, I feel pretty good. You feel pretty good, but your life is a mess. So obviously you're not feeling good. Or your measurement of what good feels like is wonky. You don't know how to measure what feels good and what doesn't. Because you can't tell me that you feel pretty good and your life is a mess. I feel pretty good, Zehra. Most of the time, I'm right at the top of the emotional scale, but I don't have the relationship, I don't have the body, I don't have the work, I don't have yada, 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 yada. Well, then, you're lying to yourself. You're not facing up to the fact that you really are not feeling good. How do you fix that? Through appreciation. So here's the thing. I'm thinking about a specific person that I was coaching. So I asked her, do you appreciate? And she says, yes, I appreciate. Okay, can you share with me your appreciation that you did yesterday? So she reads it off to me. One sentence, second, third, fourth, fifth. Without any feeling. Without any feeling. If you're not feeling it, it's not appreciation. Right? You gotta feel it. If you've been listening to me for long enough, you know that I absolutely drool over food. you can feel that I really get into it when I'm appreciating food, right? You can see the movement of energy, right? Well, that's what you want to feel when you're appreciating. You need to feel that movement of energy, because if you don't feel the movement of energy, nothing has moved. Why do we love Abraham's rampages? Everyone here, you love Abraham's rampages. Who doesn't? We all do, right? Why? Because we can feel the movement of energy. You can feel that in a very short space of time, Abraham takes you from wherever you are to the top of the emotional scale. Well, guess what, folks? You got to do that to yourself. And if you're not able to go that high on the emotional scale on your own, then you don't really know how to appreciate. It's a flat line, no emotion. I love so and so. Flat line. There's no emotion in it. And so the way to appreciate is, the better way to appreciate is to go deep rather than go broad. Go deep rather than go broad. Broad means I'm going to appreciate this, my dog, and then I'm going to appreciate my cat, and then I'm going to appreciate my son, and then my daughter. So that's going broad, 4 subjects. Go deep, I'm just going to take one subject. I'm going to take my cat, and I'm just going to milk it. I'm going to go deep. When you go deep is when you get a rampage. When you go broad, you don't get as much of a rampage. When you go deep, I love this and I love this about my cat. I love her whiskers. I love how she comes and curls right next to me. I love how she wakes me up in the morning. She licks my hand clean and she tells me it's time to wake up. And it's just so nice to have her warmth next to me. She's been with me for so many years now. We are best friends. She's like a little dog because she waits for me at the doorstep. I love her beautiful color. I think that the first thing I fell in love with when I saw her was her beautiful coloring. She's got this beautiful dark gray, like slate, but she's not black. And she's just she has this star on her chest that I absolutely love and adore. And what I notice now is that in that beautiful gray fur that she has, she's got some gray peeping out. She's got silver coming in. And so my beautiful kitty cat is getting older and is showing signs of it. But you know what I love about this kitty cat? She's almost the same age as my son. They both came into my life kind of close together. What I love about this kitty cat is that she's still like a kitten. She jumps up onto my bed. She can jump wherever she wants. And oh my God, the elegance of how she walks. She is so elegant when she walks. It's like a leopard. You can see her haunches moving like that. It's so gorgeous. And she is such a lady. She walks with such grace. She can walk in the tiniest space and absolutely maintain her balance. She can go around any number of glass objects that I put on a shelf, and she can just navigate that with such ease and flow. I just love my cat. Just absolutely love my cat. This is going deep. And it creates a shift in energy. Okay? So go deep in your appreciation and remember that if you're just paying lip service to it, it is not appreciation. You've got to feel it. Feel it. And that's why writing it is powerful, because when you write it, you stay in the vibration of it for longer. Speaking it is good as well, but writing it keeps you there for longer. So just depends. Everyone's different, and there's no wrong way of doing it, but there are better ways of doing it. Right? Okay. Okay, so then the next question that Jerry asks Abraham on page 42 is there one perfect person for us to be in a relationship with? And if there is, do you have any recommendations on how to find that person? Also, what is your opinion about what we call a soulmate? In other words, is there an ideal spiritual mate for each of us? Now, that is a $1,000,000 question, because I think at some point in time, everyone in the world has asked that question, right? So Abraham says, throughout your lifetime and because of your interaction with others, you have been identifying the characteristics in others that are most appealing to you. And so this process of identifying what you like in a relationship starts when you're a toddler. As you see the interaction between all the grown-ups around you, you're already identifying what you like, what you prefer, and what you don't. And you have incrementally been sending out rockets of desire about those desirable traits. So you forget, because who remembers what they liked about their parents or did not like about their parents when they were 3 or 2, for that matter? We don't remember. But here's the thing. Source never forgets. Source never forgets. So even if you were 2 or 3 and you liked something, Source remembers it. And we'll try to incorporate that in what you are looking for, always. So then Abraham says, before you can find your perfect mate, you must be a vibrational match to that desire, which means you must consistently be a vibrational match to what you want. And how do we do that? We do that by going high on the emotional scale. We've got to be high on the emotional scale in order to be a vibrational match to what you want. If you are feeling lonely or frustrated, so this is really important. If you are feeling lonely or frustrated about not yet meeting your mate, that means you are not a match to your vibrational reality, and so your rendezvous is postponed. Important, underline, highlight, circle, postponed. Because a lot of times I meet people who say, it's just not going to happen for me. Not true. It is postponed until you find alignment. And haven't you heard of those beautiful stories? I have. I've not only heard them, I have seen them close up front. A client of mine, he's about, I'd say 63, came to see me. And I had been trying to call him for a couple of days, and then he just showed up at my office. And I said, I've been trying to call you. Where have you been? I couldn't get in touch with you. And he said, oh, I'm so sorry, Zehra. My phone was switched off. I was attending my mother's wedding. I said, what? Did I hear that right? You were attending your mother's wedding? He said, yes. My mother was just moved in 2-3 years ago to a retirement home. And she met someone there. And they decided that they want to get married. So I asked him, how old is your mother? Oh, he said, well, she's 84. But you wouldn't know it if you saw her. She doesn't look it, but she's 84. It's like, and this gentleman that she just hitched up with, he said, well, I'm not quite sure, but I think he might be close. He's a couple of years older than her. He might be close to 90. There you go. You can find love at any age. Right? So it's postponed. Postponed does not mean it won't happen. It will happen as soon as you allow it to happen. So then Abraham says, when you are envious of others who have wonderful relationships, you are not a match to your vibrational reality. And so your rendezvous is postponed. So I can tell you that I took this to heart. I read this and I took this to heart. When I was going through this period when I was interested in having a relationship, and I was envious of people who had it. And Abraham had not written the book, but they had talked about it in one of their workshops. I heard Abraham say that unless you appreciate those people who have what you want, you can't have it. And so I changed the way I was looking at things, and I doubt that it took 6 months. I think it was more like 3 months that I met someone, and he's absolutely gorgeous, and absolutely perfect in every way. So when you change the way you look at things, everything changes. Mercedes is looking surprised.
Do you still have him?
He was here yesterday.
Oh my goodness, Sarah, that's so good.
Yes, it is good. You live in your house and I live in mine. It's perfect.
What is perfection? That's perfection. Oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry. It was such a surprise. I was always wondering. Good for you.
Okay. So the thing is, you have to stop being envious of people who have what you have. And a lot of times this applies not just to relationships, it applies a lot to money. It applies so much to money. Even my parents. So I inherited a mentality of lack from my parents because I absorbed their way of thinking. And their way of thinking always was, where there is great wealth, there's a skeleton in the closet. And so I actually had to do the work to let go that belief. And so I now understand that where they were coming from was a place of envy. They didn't have it, so they found an excuse to make the thing that they didn't have, make it seem bad, so that they don't feel bad because they don't have it. Right? So if you are remembering past unpleasing relationships and using those as your justification for wanting or needing a better one, you are a match to what you do not want, and what you do want is postponed. But if you can bring yourself to a place of consistently feeling good, even in the absence of the relationship that you desire, the rendezvous is certain. In fact, it is law. The perfection of that partner. So, like people often make these long lists of things that they want to see in a partner. And when I started understanding Abraham's teachings, I figured you don't need a list, because there are things that Source remembers that I don't even remember that I wanted. So why should I make a list? There's no reason for it, right? Because here's what happens if you do make a list. Making a list creates attachment to the outcome. I remember, this is a couple of years ago, I was coaching someone and she had this long list of criteria. And she was in the US and she was dating, she was on a dating app, and she would go out and then she would come back and she would tell me about her date. And she would have, as soon as she sat down, she was already checking off that list. And before the end of the evening, she had already disqualified this person because they didn't meet some of the criteria on her list. And so you don't even give the person a chance, because you see, here's the thing, on the surface, sometimes it seems as if people don't have the things that they actually do have. On the surface, it seems like they don't have it. And so you look at the surface and you reject, and you don't give it a chance. And how many times is it that people do give it a chance, and then they come and they tell you, well, I would have never known, but they are like this, right? And I know, as a financial advisor, sometimes people walk into your office and they look like they should have no money, until you sit down with them and they tell you how much they have. And then you look at them and you say, wow, right? You don't know. You haven't even so imagine just and there's that story of I don't remember who it was, someone very famous who went to a university to make a donation, and the university never even gave them a chance to sit down. And then they went to another university and gave them, I don't know how many millions of dollars, because they evaluated this couple by what they were wearing. Yeah, don't do that. But that's what happens is when you make this list of criteria, you don't even give the person a chance. A lot of times it happens with physical criteria. Someone will say, I want a woman or a man who is this tall, or, looks like this. But what's more important? There might be characteristics that this person is capable of that are more important to you than the height or the hair, the baldness, or whatever, mustache, etc. Right? And so you have the ability to look past. You have the ability to look past some things because some other things are way more important. Right? And this is what happens when you see couples together, like I have in my family. One of my mother's cousins, my cousin uncle, is a gorgeous man, and his wife is not at all gorgeous and a couple of inches taller than him. So I remember when I was a kid, my mother and her cousins used to talk behind their backs and say, what did he see in her? Like, why are these two people together? Well, obviously, he saw past those things and saw other things that you don't see. And there are so many times when you see that happening. You see couples and you wonder, why are they together? Well, it's because the criteria that you have are not important to them. They've got other criteria and they are satisfied with whatever they have asked for, because this person may not look like it, but they have those criteria that are satisfying. So remember that in your vortex, everything is present and that the universe knows exactly what would satisfy you. If you can bring yourself to a place of consistently feeling good, even in the absence of the relationship that you desire, the rendezvous is certain. In fact, it is law. That's the important thing to remember here. All you have to do is to feel good. And it applies the same way if you are looking for a client or if you're looking for a lover. Applies the same way. You cannot find your perfect mate from your awareness that your mate is missing from your life. And I don't know if you remember, but Abraham's, I think this clip was included in the Secret movie, was that a woman came to Abraham and said, you want me to feel so good that I don't feel that I don't have a relationship in my life. And Abraham said to her, yes, that's exactly how we want you to feel. Because if something is missing, you cannot find it. When your keys are missing, you cannot find them. Abraham told us the story of Esther's golden pen, which was a gift from Jerry to her. And she lost the pen. And she felt bad about it because it was a gift from Jerry. For 2 years, she couldn't find it. But it was in the handbag that she thought it was in. She looked 10 times in that handbag, turned it upside down, could not find the pen, and then 2 years later went into the handbag to take out something and found the pen. When something is missing, you cannot find it. When you say, I don't know where it is, I don't know where it is, I can't find it, I can't find it, you can't find it. When that happens in my office, I call my assistant and I tell her, I can't find it, so you look, you'll find it. Because if I can't get rid of the feeling that something's missing, I know I'm not going to be able to find it, so I'll just ask someone else to take a look who does not have that feeling. And then they'll find it. It'll be right there under my nose. But I can't see it, even though it is under my nose. Right? So it's important to remember that we cannot find things if we think that they are missing. So is there a soulmate? One for every person? And Abraham says, a soulmate would be, okay, so over here, from the non-physical vantage point before your birth, and sometimes, okay, sorry, I lost my sentence. So you've got all of these things that you've stored. A soulmate would be a person who has all these things that you've ever thought about. I'm on page 43, right at the top. A soulmate would be such a person, but we usually downplay the idea of soulmates in the way that so many people want to address them, because really every person with whom you share your planet is sort of soulmate, because you're all connected. And also because of one other thing. Abraham says that every individual has the potential to give you what you want. Every person has the potential to give you what you want. Right? I know the story of a person who was very highly educated. She had her PhD or something, and she fell in love with this person, and this is when, this is before I knew law of attraction or whatever, a friend of mine, and she was talking to me about this person, and she said, Zehra, the only thing about him is I've got a PhD and he only has a high school diploma. And I am looking past that, but I just wish that he had more education, because I see past that, but my family doesn't. My family tells me that, he's not appropriate for me because there's such a big disparity in our education. And then I met her, I'm going to say about 10 years ago. So this is way back before I came to Canada, I knew her. And then 10 years ago, on Facebook, we connected again, and she's still married to that same person. And she told me that he went back to school, and he now has a master's degree. And it's like every person has the potential to give you what you want. And she's now so proud of him that he did that, right? She's so proud of him. So every person has the potential. Let's read over here. The feeling of connection that people are looking for, the exhilaration of being with someone with their hearts soaring, really is not a function of the person you are with, but instead it is a function of your own connection with you. And this is so important to understand. We would prefer to think of soulmate as you meeting or consciously connecting with your own soul or source or inner being or self. When you, in your physical moment and time, are offering a similar vibration to that of your inner being, you have indeed found your soulmate. And if you consistently do that, the people who will gravitate to you will be enormously satisfying in nature. So we basically are the ones who put the label soulmate on another person. This person is my soulmate, not because of who they are, but because of who I become when I'm with them. Listen carefully. Because of who I become when I am with them. This person is my soulmate because of who I become when I am with them. That's what it means to be soulmate. All right. Think about what you want in a relationship and why you want it. Look for those around you who are experiencing good relationships and feel appreciation for them. Make lists of positive aspects of those you have spent time with. In fact, one of the fastest ways to make your way to a wonderful relationship is to find any subject that consistently feels good and focus on that, even if it has nothing to do with relationships. Think about omelets and everything else will fall into place. Right? But literally, that's what it is. If you can keep yourself high on the emotional scale, everything else in your life will fall into place. And that's all we need to know. That's why Abraham says all the work that we have to do is to go up the emotional scale, and that's it. Just find a way to go up the emotional scale, and everything else will fall into place. And that is why there is not one person who is your soulmate. Your soulmates can be 10, 20, 40, 50 different people, because yes, there are things that you like, but there are so many people who have those criteria that you like. The difference is, which one of them do you allow yourself to feel connected with? Which one of these 40 people who potentially can be your soulmate, which one of them, when you gaze on them, that you can see the perfection of them the way your inner being sees it? Because your inner being sees the perfection of all 40. Abraham says at any point in time there are 40 or 50 people who match what you want. So there are 40 or 50 out there. But in this moment, and as you gaze upon them, which one of them inspires you to see them through the eyes of Source? And that one is your soulmate for that moment in time. It is not carved in stone kind of a thing that is, once it's done, is done forevermore. All right. And so when the moment of thought is blissful and satisfying without the contradictory energy of trying to make something that has not yet happened happen, your vibration is pure and powerful, and your creation can easily flow without hindrance. We're going to stop there, guys. And so we are always the ones who create the resistance, and often the resistance is based on what we can see. And what we have to remind ourselves is that we cannot see everything. And we certainly cannot see all the beliefs that a person has, all their thoughts. You can't look inside a person and know. Here's the complexity of it. If you wanted to sit down and write out all your own beliefs, you could not do it because you have no idea. So how is it that you can say that you know another person that well? You can't. You can never know anyone completely because you don't even know yourself completely. How do you expect to know other people completely? You can't. You can't. And so we cannot pass judgment. Because of this fact, we cannot pass judgment. We cannot put people in boxes that say proper, improper, right, wrong, appropriate, inappropriate, black, white. We can't do that because we don't have complete information. So don't even bother. It's a waste of energy. Don't even try. Right? Awesome. All right. So I'm going to close the call. And before I close the call, I must let you know that there will be no book study next Thursday because I will be on the cruise with Abraham. Right? But I will for sure. Thank you. Any questions? If you have any questions, I'm happy to stay.
I do have one.
Sure, go ahead.
Tell me, if you can share about the feeling good.
Yes.
So, I cannot be the whole day thinking about omelets.
No. You can.
As you can imagine. No, hold on. I was putting a funny thing out. But I mean, like, so how often do you do your vibrational work, and um, when do you need, like, I am feeling great today. I think that I have aha moments with, so when do you do the feeling good thing? Whenever you feel like you need it, or
It changes.
because sometimes you're saying that sometimes we don't know that we're not high on the emotional scale.
Yeah.
So if you're working to be high on the emotional scale and to bring the vibrational work to be a constant as much as needed, how does that work?
Sweetheart, you ask a really good question, and I'm not sure I remember if I've shared this with you, but I'm going to share something with you that is probably going to help you to understand the answer. So just give me a second and
Great.
I will. So as I explain it, Mercedes, is that there are 6 stages of spiritual growth. And during these 6 stages, the amount of work that we do and what we do is different. How our inner world looks like is different from our outer world. So the very first stage of spiritual awakening is realization that you need to do something. And in this stage, your inner world looks like this. You've had enough, you feel stuck, you can't stand it anymore. You can feel anger and resentment towards other people. And outer world, meaning your manifestations, you have trouble sleeping, you have health issues, weight gain problems, things like that. So that's what your manifestations look like. And that's when you start the work. So you find, okay, you're asking the question, what do I need to do in this stage, right? So hang on, I need to move this a little bit. There we go. So then the next stage is acceptance. Okay, here I am. I accept that I create my own reality. Okay, so this is the second stage of spiritual awakening, is to understand how much power you have. I accept the fact that I create my own reality. So what happens is, in your inner world, you become open now. You accept your role in creation and you take responsibility. Nothing has changed yet in your outer world because it's just a realization, but nothing has changed. This is where you start learning. So your action step is that you start learning and practicing, but your outer world doesn't change yet. Nothing has changed yet. So the analogy that I use in this booklet about spiritual awakening is that it's like the first step is learning that you don't have freedom, and you need to learn how to drive so that you can have freedom to go wherever you want. That's the realization stage. The second stage, acceptance, is like, okay, I'm going to sign up. I'm going to go get the driving handbook. I'm going to start studying to learn how to drive. Okay, so you get your learner's permit and you get the book and you start studying. So you're still not on the road. Step 3 is awareness. In this stage, you are learning what is negative thought and what is positive thought. Okay, you're basically starting to identify patterns, and you're starting to understand beliefs that are holding you back. And now you are more, what's happening in your outer world, your manifestations, is that you're more present and mindful, and you observe your talk and other people's talk. Still, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Maybe you get the odd parking place or something, but nothing has changed. You identify your core beliefs, you write them down, you do thought mapping exercise, you start doing your appreciation journal, and you incorporate some sort of physical activity. So these are the growth steps. There's a lot of work involved here. And I can tell you, you were asking me how much I used to do. So, sweetheart, when I was in that stage, I used to do it all the time, like 24 hours. If I was awake, I would be looking at a yellow sticky somewhere in my house reminding me to do the work.
What work?
It.
Appreciate.
Yeah. So this is the stage that takes the longest. It is the stage of application. Creating your own personal evidence is important. In this stage, you start using the tools. So now you are actually behind the steering wheel and you're on the road. So, you're starting to drive and you can go places, but you can't get on the highway, right? You don't have your full driver's license yet. So what happens is now you're using the tools, you're doing the work, and now your inner world feels better, but outer world is still not changing. Your outer world, you have to do a lot of work until you get to the stage of alignment, which is stage 5, where you are in love with life, where you have momentum. Momentum. Once you have momentum, this is when momentum will carry you through. If you don't do the work one day, doesn't matter. But until you get to this stage, this is the stage where your inner world has completely changed. You don't worry anymore. There's no worry, there's no anxiety. Your relationships have improved. Your self-worth is there. You're doing the 4-step process in your head all the time, right? People are starting to notice that you are changing. Now you need to keep that momentum going, but now you can relax. Now you can relax because you have momentum on your side. It's like the old cars with the stick shift. If you're driving the car and you're going full speed and you suddenly cut the gas, the car will still keep moving. It won't come to a stop like the cars do these days, right? It'll still keep moving. Why? Because it has momentum. If you roll a ball, it will keep rolling because it has momentum. So you literally have to get to this place. In this place, your outer world is changing because you know how trust works. You ask with confidence, you know it is given, and then it appears. It takes a lot of work to get to this stage. And then once you get to this stage, you're still not done. You're not done because once you're there, now you want mastery. Because mastery is where you stop going up and down the emotional scale. So these stages are kind of sort of a little bit different from Abraham's steps, but this is step 5 of Abraham's. You know how Abraham says step 1, you ask, step 2, source answers, step 3, you allow, step 4, things happen, but you know how to find your alignment. Step 5, you never leave alignment. Step 5, you never leave alignment. You always stay in a place of alignment. This is a place of mastery. And so the only thing is you're not there yet, and it's totally okay as long as you're on your way, right? So you're on your way, you will get there. So this is what I call the manifesting success journey. This is what the 365 is all about. You are a member of the 365. That's what happens because of the talks that we are doing, the coaching that we are doing in a group every weekend. What you're getting is you're staying on track and you're basically learning all the tools because you already know all the tools, Mercedes. You know all the tools. So then it's about application and alignment until you get to mastery.
It is so unbelievable, this, Zehra, and how one can see itself going from one place to the other. Then you back up a little bit and then you continue and then move forward another bit and all that. In my appreciations today, the word trust was the highlight.
Yeah.
I don't want to take much of your time, but this is, and then I see the word trust in here.
Yes.
It is because I did have an aha moment. I'll tell you some other time, but oh my God.
It all boils down to trust. It is all about trust. It is all
because
about
I mean, the universe it is there, and it listens to you, and it's unbelievable how things can happen when you really believe in this.
It's, I'll tell you something really important, Mercedes. There are a few tools, and they are all in the Unlimited 40-Day Workbook. You all have the tools. There are no more tools other than that. I laugh because people are making a fool of people by saying, oh, use this technique or use this thing. I laugh because they're just misleading. I won't say misleading, but they're just making people think that it's more complicated than it is. It is really very simple. The only exercises you need to understand and practice and do are in the 40-Day Workbook. And so when people come to me and they say, I know how to meditate, I know the 4-step process, I know this, but give me something. Zehra, give me something more that I can do to change my life. And I'm like, no, there's nothing more. You have all the tools. You don't need more than this. Don't make it more complicated than it is. It is not meant to be complicated. It's meant to be easy. So Mercedes, it's just about, yes, your life depends on it. Do the work as much as you can. When I first started, when I was over here learning this stuff from Abraham, I literally lived it, breathed it, ate it. I was doing it all the time. Now I spend my life between alignment and mastery. So now I don't even notice that I'm doing it. It's not that I stopped doing it. See, this is the beauty that you need to understand, Mercedes, is that it's not that I'm not doing the work. I'm doing the work all the time. It's just that I don't notice that I'm doing it because it's part of who I am.
Yeah. Oh my God. I am going to be there.
Yes. Yes,
I will.
You are. Just remind yourself every time that it is supposed to be simple. Keep it simple. You don't need another tool.
And trust
Yes,
and
you don't
trust.
need another tool. None of us need another new tool. We don't need more tools.
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
imagine that you want to bake a plain vanilla cake. If you have 10,000 recipes for baking a plain vanilla cake, it's going to be more confusing than if you just have one recipe. Abraham has given us one recipe. We know what the ingredients are. Let's just do it.
And it works.
And it works. I don't need to go and listen to 10,000 different other things. That one recipe works and I've got it. I just need to perfect this one recipe. And if I'm baking with it and it didn't turn out right the first time, I'm going to bake with it the second time and the third time and the fourth time and the fifth time until I become good at baking with it. You see?
And it's going to happen when you're ready.
It's going to happen when I am mindful and I'm paying attention to what I'm actually doing. Actually doing the recipe, not checking the oven every 2 minutes. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
The trust. Right? So we don't need 10,000 different ways of doing the work. Because having 10,000 different ways of doing the work is just going to confuse us and slow us down. You've got a winning formula, Abraham's winning formula. Just do it. So when you ask me, how much do I do it? All the time. But it doesn't feel like I'm doing it anymore because it's how I do things. But trust me, when I was here in awareness and application, stages 3 and 4, I was immersed in it all the time.
How long did it take? How long do you think it takes from 1 to 6?
It does not, it depends on you.
Yeah.
There are people like Eckhart Tolle and Anita Morjani who went from here straight to here overnight, literally. And then there are people like me who went slowly like a tortoise from here to here to here, and it took time. But what happened, so with me, I'll say it took me maybe 2 years to go from here right to knowing what I was doing. And then once you are here at stage 4, it's just about just keep doing it, because I know it's working. I know it's working, so I'm just going to keep doing it. And mastery is something, you know, alignment and mastery, because we're human. It's just ongoing.
I had a touch of that. I had a.
Yeah. But the work doesn't stop, is what I'm saying to you, Mercedes.
Yeah, I understand.
But how you feel about it changes, because in the beginning it's work, and when you get to the 5th stage, it's no longer work. It's your joy, it's your pleasure, it's the way you breathe, it's everything you do. So it doesn't feel like it's work.
No, it feels like you are learning something that is making you feel better, and that you are on your way to this feeling good thing. This message of today, it's so important, because the feeling good, the looking for feeling good, it changes. I mean, the thing comes to you, the words come to you, the realization come to you.
Yes, absolutely.
God talks to you. The universe talks to you. You just need to listen. And then, oh my God, look, this is happening because of this and this and this. And then you're happy. And then you understand. And then you keep, yeah.
That's exactly how it is. And so this is where all the work is. In stage 3 and stage 4 is where all the work is. By the time you are done stage 4, there's nothing more to learn. You have all the tools. You've got all the now it's just about practicing. Practice, 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 practice. And in that practice, we go up and down the emotional scale, and it's totally okay, because once you have the confidence that you have all the tools, you can go up. Right? Yeah. Awesome.
Yes.
All right. I am going to go ahead and close the call. Yes, Tumika, we all have it. We all have it. We are all going to get there.
So this is, so we're getting all this information on the
I'll put it in the 365. If you want a copy of this,
and the explanation before, from the step by step. When do we get? When do we access that?
You'll have it tomorrow, because it'll get posted to my YouTube. Right? I post all the.
Yeah, but if you want to kind of read it little by little, are we not going to get this on the heart and mind?
You will get this. You will get
and the previous ones, right?
Yes, this is one booklet.
Exactly, the booklet.
You'll get the whole booklet.
Exactly, because this is very important.
Okay. You're welcome, Mercedes.